of Economics, Marthoma College, Chungatara. I am Pradeep MB, Faculty of PG Department of Economics, Marthoma College, Chungatara. I hope all of you must have followed the instruction given in the email. I will now brief the instruction once again to avoid network congestion issues. Instructions are, when opting the Google Meet platform, please make sure to mute microphone and switch off the camera during the entire presentation. Never click the present now button on the screen. Now to enter the sector. You can raise question chat box within the Google Meet or the live chat within the YouTube during the interaction section. It is advisable to enter this section with the registered email ID to mark your attendee. Last one, the e-certificate will be sent to participants who submit the feedback form. That's all. The instructions are once again. For the Google Meet platform, please make sure to mute my phone and switch off the camera during the presentation. Press the button on the screen at any point of time during the lecture. Click join now to enter the section. You can write your question in the chat box within Google Meet or chat YouTube during action section. It is advisable to enter the section with the detailed line mark your. These certificates will be sent over the who submit feedback form. Okay. We, the PG Department of Economics, are glad to invite you all second webinar series, Econologue, Dialogues on Economics. Today, the webinar is on the topic COVID-19 and Indian economy, trends and survival strategies. We hope you have fruitful session ahead. Let us start. I would like to invite Ms. Nivya Neelankavil, coordinator and the head of the department, to formally welcome the gathering.
Respected Dr. Reina Thomas, Principal, Marthoma College, Chungatara. Dr. Abdul Aziz, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Aligarh Muslim University, and our resource person today. Dr. Rajiv Thomas, IQAC Coordinator, Marthoma College, Chungatara. Dear faculty, students, and all participants, a very good afternoon to you all. The year 2020 has been an unforgettable one for all of us, as the pandemic COVID-19 has affected us in one form or another. No one has been spared of its effects. Economies have been destroyed, businesses have seen a negative impact, sports events such as IPL and Olympics have been postponed, schools and colleges have been closed, and most importantly, the fear of coronavirus has limited the movement of the individuals. The lockdown in India had a sizable impact on the economy as it was disruptive in terms of economic activity as well as on loss of human lives. And we, the PG Department of Economics, Marthoma College Chungathara, think this is the right time to debate and discuss on the impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy. Hence, here we are with our second webinar in the series of Econologue, Dialogues on Economics. I welcome Dr. Reina Thomas, Principal of our college, to this webinar. The unceased support from her side is the reason why we could move forward with this knowledge imparting exercise. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Rajiv Thomas, IQAC Coordinator, Marthoma College, Chungathara, and Head of the Research Department of Commerce, a man with utmost calmness while dealing with the most difficult situations, is the show we always can swim to. Welcome, sir, to the webinar. It's with great honor I introduce you Dr. Abdul Aziz NP, our resource person today. Working as Assistant Professor in Economics, Aligarh Muslim University. Dr. Abdul Aziz has won several accolades. Excellency Award 2013, Sultan Jahan Scholarship, to name a few. He is a lifetime member of Kerala Economic Association and has published more than 30 papers in research journals and authored several books. With immense pleasure, I welcome you to the webinar, sir. I extend my welcome to you all, dear participants. Thank you for joining us. I hope this will be a fruitful session for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. Econologue is a webinar series, Dialogues on Economics. Today, the webinar is on the topic COVID-19 and Indian economy and trends and survival strategies. For the presidential address, I invite our respected principal, Dr. Reina Thomas, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Nivea HOD of Economics Department, IQAC Coordinator Dr. Rajiv Thomas. Today's resource person Dr. Abdul Aziz. We have faculty members, students, and invited participants. I'm glad that Economics Department, the PG Department of Economics, is arranging this Dialogues in Economics, and this is the second one in the series. I congratulate the faculty members for arranging such a webinar. The COVID-19, the very minute particle, the virus, created a greater havoc in our lives, especially in the economy, not in India, but worldwide. But as Indians, we are more interested in knowing about the present status of Indian economy and how it is affected by the pandemic. And each one of us, being the members of the society, are affected in one way or other, economically or in other ways during this pandemic. So as economic students and community, we are eager to know about what are the strategies that we need to take to strive forward to gain more energy to go forward along with the COVID pandemic, because we don't know when it is going to end and it is going on, and new strains of strands of virus are coming out. So it is an apt topic is selected, and we got the very apt resource person for presenting the topic. So I appreciate the efforts. And once again, I welcome Dr. Abdul Aziz to our community and welcoming you to Marthoma College. And my earnest request to the students and participants that you should interact with the resource person and know more about the strategies that we should, as economics students, should know, because the common man is knowing in the practical sense, and we are teaching and learning it in the theoretical sense. So, if anybody asks us to explain how it affects, we should correlate the two, the theoretical and the practical aspect, and explain it. So that should be the strategy to be followed in the future. So I welcome all of you to this webinar and have a great time learning more new things and refresh yourselves with this Econologue. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Just for the felicitation, I invite Dr. Rajiv Thomasa, IQSC Coordinator and Head of Research Department of Commerce, to grace the occasion by his words.
Respected Principal Dr. Reina Thomas, HOD of Economics in IVIA, Nilangavil. Today's resource person, Dr. Abdul Aziz NP, Alligat Muslim University. Dear friends and my dear students, I am very happy to participate in the second webinar series arranged by the Department of Economics. So as a business student, while seeing the consequence of COVID, the effect of COVID to the economy and to the business during the 9 months or 10 months happened so far is very high. We cannot calculate the actual loss caused due to the COVID or this pandemic. While teaching business environment, there is external environment. In the external environment, there are so many factors. Then when we go to study the business environment, there is a new area, that is the environmental factor like pandemic, how it affect the business all over the world. So due to COVID, the business organizations, companies, factories, all of them were shut down. Now they are starting their activities in step by step. Now we can see the share market is increasing, the economy is growing, the companies' quarterly results are showing profits. Now we are in a recovering stage. How it affected the business, how it affected the economy, how it affected the laborers, how it affected the traders, how it affected the society. All these questions are to be answered by the economists or by the government. What are the measures taken by the various agencies in connection with the COVID situation or for handling the situation? So this webinar, which help our students to have a clear idea about the impact of COVID, what happened to the economy due to COVID, how we can overcome, what are the measures to be taken for overcoming the situation. And I request all the students to participate in this webinar in a very active way by asking questions to our resource person and clearing your doubts regarding this contemporary topic. I wish all success to the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite today's resource person, Dr. Abdul Aziz sir, to start section. Handing over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to present my PPT. Kindly see whether it is visible or not. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay.
sir.
It is visible.
Okay, I hope it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So, respected Principal Dr. Raina Thomas, IQSC Coordinator Dr. Rajiv Thomas, and today Webinar Coordinator and Head Department of Economics, Nivya V, Mr. Pradeep, and dear organizers, teaching and non-teaching staffs, and my dear students. It's my great pleasure, honor, and privilege to address and interact with you people on the topic of COVID-19 and Indian economy, trends and survival strategies. The monthly webinar series organized by the Postgraduate Department of Economics, Chungatara Marthoma College, in collaboration with IQSC. I express my heartfelt thanks to Nivya ma'am, Nishar, for inviting me to deliver this lecture. And I am also thankful to organizing team, teachers, and non-teaching staff members for organizing such a relevant webinar in the wake of spread of COVID-19 across the world. Although the topic is very vast and wide, we know it is very difficult to evaluate each and every sectors of the economy separately within the stipulated period of time. So that I have considered some of the important aspects and sectors of the economy as a special consideration for discussion. In this presentation, I would like to discuss how COVID-19 pandemic affected the economy, its impact on GDP, especially focusing on the quarterly calculations, unemployment, remittance, socio-economic behavioral changes during the period, recovery models, and survival strategies. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic is the first and foremost human global disaster. In 2020, all of us are big trouble and facing the difficulties because of the virus that cannot seen with our naked eye. We know the coronavirus outbreak was firstly reported in Wuhan city, China on 31st December 2019, which spread more than 220 countries and territories and approaching almost 94 million total cases, and death tolls touched 20 lakhs globally. In India, the first case of corona disease was reported in Kerala on January 30, 2020. Then the multiple cases were then reported different cities and states in India. Hence, the government of India took necessary actions by announcing lockdown in every corners of the country on 24th March 2020. India now ranks the second behind US in daily increase in the COVID-19 cases across the world. Of course, it is a health crisis. However, the novel coronavirus plunged the entire world economy. Each sector is fighting a battle of survival from this deadly virus. The COVID-19 pandemic has spread with alarming speed with every part of the world and delivered global economic shocks in the enormous magnitude, leading to a steep recession in many countries, infecting millions of people and bringing the economic activity to near standstill as country imposed a tight restrictions and movement to halt spread of virus. Now see, the COVID-19 pandemic is inflicting two kinds of shocks on the country. We can see that it is a health shock and economic shock. Most of the analysts were focused on the human disaster. Of course, there are a number of people who died. Strict resistance, travel restrictions, and also social distancing worsened the economic consequences rather than a direct consequences of death and illness. In general, we are assuming that a strong economy is good for health because the growth of the economy provide a better water, sanitation, better nutrition, and ultimately we get a better healthcare system. Health and economy are in trouble or in crisis when we are fighting with this coronavirus pandemic. Why? At least in short run. See, this intervention create a trade-off between saving life, especially in terms of health. At the same time, we also want to save our economy. So that's why I said it is a economy health trade-off. Because the lockdown restrictions on individual freedom, for example, saved their lives by preventing the transmission, but they came at the cost of low output, low income, low employment. So various mitigation measures, just like what we can say that lockdown, closure of school, business, non-essential businesses, travel restrictions have imposed most of the countries to limit, yes, especially for limiting the spread of COVID-19 and ease to strain the healthcare system. But at the same time, it have bad impact upon the economy. So that's why we are saying that it is a health wealth trade-off, or we can say that it is a economy wealth trade-off. Now see what was the immediate impact of COVID-19. We know it's a demand and supply shocks. The pandemic and associated mitigation measures like social distancing, lockdown, travel restrictions leads to this immediate effect. So we'll discuss separately what is supply side effect, what is demand side effect. See, the supply side effect or supply chain shock. Of course, one of the obvious consequences of coronavirus is what we can say that it's a disruption of global supply chain. The direct impact of human reactions to the virus is clear and abundant. Authorities in the several countries have shut down the workplaces, schools, temporarily cut down the jobs. And following the rare reports of COVID-19 infection, several large companies also and other institutions ordered their employees to work from home and ban all the domestic and international travels. From the economic point of view, what we can say that all these type of measures adopted by the government, especially the closure, travel restrictions, travel ban, reduced the productivity and distribution, and therefore it affected the supply chain. So duration of supply chains, of course, it entirely depends upon the severity and the nature of the virus in relation to the public health policy response. So this disruption in the supply chain may extend more countries, more regions, and entirely depending upon how long the coronavirus pandemic will be expand. So this is the supply chain. Of course, it will affect the supply chain. Now see what is the demand side shock. The virus not only affect the supply side, the demand side, but some of the sectors of the economy experience a declining in the demand, and what we can say that a sharp declining in the income of the people because it affected the economy as a whole. So as the people avoid shopping malls, what we can say that theaters, restaurants, and impose various restrictions like quarantine, travel restrictions, social distancing, etc. The cost, which will cost go down needed. The availability of money in the hands of people is reduced because as all the temporary jobs will be already cut down during the period of virus. So people buy less goods and services for fearing the coronavirus infected by the virus, and the demand for food and beverage industry is already declined. So when the companies or institutions are forced to closure, the workers receive very less income than they expected, and some cases there is no pay or no jobs. In the country like India, but see the number of temporary or unorganized informal workers is very high, and they get only a few amount for their sustenance, or we can say that for their daily living. Therefore, the crisis is significantly affected the demand in the short run. So shutdown, lockdown, of course, it destroyed the each and every sectors. We know the airline, road, railway transport, movie, music, sports, advertising, media, shopkeepers, retailers, tourism, and many more will be already widely affected by the impact of COVID-19. But now the various phases, all these sectors are unlocking, or what we can say that started to opening or going to open near future. See this diagram showing the global monthly wise GDP growth rate during 1991 crisis and also 2008-9 financial crisis and 2020 COVID pandemic period. And see the red line showing that this 2020 pandemic period. And we know, see how deepest this crisis is. Looking at the speed with which the crisis has overtaken the global economy, which may provide a clue to how deep the recession will be, and we observed the same. Now see here, the economic survey of 2019-20. They are predicted the GDP growth rate and predicted for the GDP growth rate of 2021. And it's already estimated their GDP growth rate from 2016 to 2021. Where 2016 it was to 8.2, 2017 it was 7.2, and 2018-19 it was 6.8, and 19-20 it was 5. And they projected that in 2020, that means before pandemic, they predicted that the economy will grow by 6 to 6.5%. But what happened? The NSO has released economic data for the first quarter of the current fiscal year 2021, revealing a historic contraction of 23.9% over 3 months. That means for the period of April, May, June. That is the first quarter of the financial year 2021. So the first quarter means that it is April, May, June. So for this period, the GDP declined to rupees 26.9 lakh crores in the first quarter of 2021 from 35.35 lakh crores, which was the first quarter of 2019-20. So here we are comparing the GDP growth rate as previous quarter. That means we are comparing here quarter 1 of 2021 with quarter 1 of 2019-20. So if you compare this, then what happened? The GDP growth rate is declining to minus 23.9% in the first quarter of 2021 as compared to 5.2% in the first quarter of 2019 and 2020. So of course, it is a COVID-19 outbreak, the subsequent lockdown enforced by the central government, state government, which paralyzed the business activity as they triggered, and also led to the large quarterly declining in the GDP figure, since such a figure was firstly calculated, published in 1996. So India's GDP during the fourth quarter of the last fiscal year was 3.1%, with overall growth rate during pegged to 5.2%. Then the first quarter of 2021, it was minus 23.9%. So that was the history of India. And see, the whole world is facing the crisis, and hence no economy, what we can say that, showing a positive growth except China. Although the first coronavirus was reported in China, you see here, the Bloomberg released an infographic that showed a contraction of economy along with India and China. The contraction in UK's economy, it is minus 20.4%, followed by Malaysia, it is minus 17.1%. Then Eurozone, it is minus 15. US, it is minus 9.1%. And see, it's affected country by coronavirus and so contraction, except China, where China's growth rate was positive 3.2%. So among the major countries, the biggest contraction is declining in the India's GDP growth rate. So India has become one of the worst performing economy among the G20 countries, as India was the world's fastest growing economy until few years back, and now heading to a first full recession since 1980. So a natural question arises, why the Indian economy has so severely affected? So the recession was triggered by the spread of COVID-19 and subsequent lockdown and stagnation of business operation that actually paralyzed the economy. But the lockdown could not has taken its advantage as it was not implemented properly in our country. But the lockdown could not taken its advantage. The subsequent increase in the number of infected created a great uncertainty in our country. So again, the repeated lockdown, regional lockdown, what we can containment zones is disrupted the production, productivity and distribution. So India is the country with very large unorganized sectors that quite different from from other major countries of the world. So we have seen the media that during the period of lockdown, due to the lack of transport facilities, panicked the workers and their families, including children, pregnant women, and elderly people. They were walked barefoot to their workplace without food or money. Many of the migrated people are stranded on the way and facing the starvation and misery. And some of them are died before reaching their destination. Food, shelter, health, job loss, family survival, anxiety, fear are the immediate concerns of this population. Many of the workers were subjected to police brutality, and estimated at least, I hope that it is 1,000 people were died on their way to home. So millions have been robbed to their income, and they are going to have wait for the aid and facing uncertain future. They don't know what they want to do. So people on this region were unable to cope up with the crisis and the poor. So required authority itself, even the central government itself, neglected these unorganized sectors of people and their employment, and also not guaranteed their income. Similarly, many people have strayed from the system, mistrusted the authority, and also violated the official protocol and declaration made by the government as well. The people walked down without observing what we can say mask and social distancing. See, here we can easily identify from this picture. Therefore, we need to look at what happened in the upcoming quarters. See, RBI has reported or projected, what we can say projected, before coming the second quarter report GDP growth rate that Indian economy, which has been badly affected the coronavirus with pandemic. So they said that Indian economy are going to enter into a technical recession, the first time in the history by the end of first half of 2020-21 financial year. That means it is the second quarter. Second quarter means that it is, as I have already said, April, May, June is the first quarter. The second quarter is July, August, and September quarter. That is 3-month period. So they said that this period will be a technical recession. Why they said? RBI has come up with this figure using a nowcast method, and nowcast method is simply its present or near future forecast method of the economy. The most common definition for determining a technical recession. Why we are using the concept of a technical recession? What is the difference between a recession and technical recession? You see, the technical recession, when we are facing a technical recession, then 2 consecutive quarters, that means here the quarter 1, quarter 2, that means 2 consecutive quarters with declining income, sales, employment. So lockdown and other restrictions due to epidemics led to a sharp decline of minus 23.9% in the first quarter. And at the same time, the RBI expected that before coming the official data, RBI expected that a decline of 8.6% in the second quarter, that means July-September period in 2020. So with these 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth rate of COVID because of COVID-19, this means that India is entered a technical recession for the first time in the history in the first half of the financial year of 2021. Now, after the 2 weeks projection of RBI regarding the GDP, the data released officially by NSO, they confirmed the same thing. That means GDP contracted by a minus 7.5% in the second quarter, that is July-September. So official GDP data released for the second quarter, that is quarter 2, showed that Indian economy is contracted. Of course, officially it is cleared. That is 2 consecutive quarters. We are facing this negative growth rate. So we are calling as a technical recession. Here also, except China, almost all the major countries are facing the negative growth rate. See, RBI projected through its latest bulletin, that is State of Economy, said that a positive indicators that showed the economy is pulling out of COVID-19's negative GDP growth effect, and projected that GDP growth rate will turn to a positive in the third and fourth quarter. So quarter 3 and quarter 4. So the first in the quarter 3 it will be the 0.1%. That means positive GDP growth rate, and quarter 4 is the 0.7% will be the GDP growth rate. So it's mainly 2 important factors that led to the blast with this turning point. The first is the blending COVID infection curve. And the number of COVID infection cases are declining since mid-September of 2020, bearing locating the surges. Infections are inclined downward week after 1 week, and recovery rate is pushing more than 95%. And secondly, it is mainly due to the unlocking process, which is already going on. That means the economy is started to opening. So the recession triggered by the spread of COVID-19 and subsequent lockdown by the central and state government and stagnation of business activities, operations, which paralyzed the economy. Of course, there is no doubt that is COVID played a big role in the cause of economic collapse. But many people now showing that it's only because of the problem of COVID-19 that led to the declining of the GDP growth rate. It's not true. It's not a reality, as we are already perceived from previous data. That means from financial year of 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. See, a declining trend which was started from 2015, 16 onwards. Why this has happened? Although COVID-19 played a critical role in the declining GDP, we need to re-evaluate the economic reforms that has been implemented in the economy over past 5 years and associated repercussions. So India continued to collapse financially or economically due to the poor design and improper implementation of demonetization, which was introduced on November 8, 2016, and subsequent the implementation of GST. So without proper implementation of these 2 programs, which were the Indian economy was started to declining from 2015-16 onwards. Now, I have already discussed the GDP growth rate as it is minus 23.9% in the first quarter and minus 7.5% in the second quarter. And we are expecting that in the third quarter and fourth quarter, that means there will be a positive growth rate. But see, think about the majority of the section of our India who employed in the informal or unorganized sector. One of the reports says that economic survey of 2019, about 93% of India's total workforce of our country is employed in the informal sector, or we can say that it is an unorganized sector. So, however, government think tank, that is Niti Aayog, again, they are saying that it is 85% of our total workforce was as a part of unorganized sector. So, see what happened with this unorganized sector. While we are calculating NSO, that means, GDP by NSO, it is not a true or actual picture of our economy. The quarter one was minus 23.9% and quarter two was minus 7.5%. But I don't believe it is true estimation. Why? The growth rate is actually much lower than as reported. What is reported? It is minus 23.9% is reported in the first quarter and minus 7.5% which was reported in the second quarter. But it is not an actual data. Why? Because the informal sector or unorganized sector has affected than the organized sector. The real scope of economic crisis is expected to be a deeper, much deeper. You know, since era of demonetization and collapse of unorganized sector has not been reflected by the quarterly data of GDP 19. GDP data, which was in fact the quarterly data, does not fully captured by the organized sector itself. So NSO, while calculating GDP, they are not taking into the consideration of unorganized sector while calculating the GDP. They are considering only the industrial production index is based on very limited amount of data, which is released by the hundreds of corporate sector companies, such as railway, banking sector, and some other industries. So all these represents only a organized sector. Agriculture is the only component that uses data from the unorganized sector. So therefore, the growth rate which was reported in the first quarter, that is minus 23.9%, is only the collapse of the rate of organized sector. What about the major portion of people who are employed in the unorganized sector? It is not captured by the NSO calculations. So therefore, Indian economy is sinking from recession and also faced not only recession, it is actually faced some sort of depression for the short period of time at least. See, now we are going to consider the employment part. We are already facing with the social distancing, lockdown, all this period. What happened? See, the lockdown and social distancing, social isolation have directly affect the production distribution of essential services. This resulted in a loss of employment, income, and significant reduction in the number of working hours, and resulted the crisis pushing many families to below poverty line and increasing the existing inequality in the society. The United Nations International Labour Organization, ILO, has warned. It's actually warned about half of the world workers. That means about 1.6 billion workers will lose their livelihood and some of their livelihood will be severely damaged or affected or challenged. So the organization's latest report says that 4/5 of the world's, that means about 2.7 billion workers, could be partially or fully affected by the COVID-19. The first month of crisis is estimated to have been about 60% drop in the income of informal, unorganized workers globally. And more than 65 million unemployed Americans have claimed about unemployment insurance benefit in the past 3 months. And this is the largest job loss in the US history itself. What happened in India's case? See, according to the survey conducted by the Center for Monitoring of Indian Economy, that means CMIE, India's unemployment rate, it's showing from here January 2020 to December 2020 for the 12 month. And here the bar diagram of red color showing the India's data and yellow color showing the urban data, and the blue color is showing the light blue color is showing the rural areas data, and see what happened over the period of 1 year. In the January, the unemployment rate was very low. February, followed by February and March. Then see, April, May month reported a very high unemployment rate. India's unemployment rate rose sharply to 25% in the almost 25% in April from 8.7% in March, which was reported in March. So a large sample, by taking the large sample, the CMIE reported this unemployment rate. And you know, on May 2020, May 9, the urban India is recorded a high unemployment rate of 26.3% as compared to 23.7% rural unemployment data. So many unemployment problems were faced during this period. So we from this this diagram itself, we can understand that for the period of April, May, June, we can say that there was a high rate of unemployment was reported in India. Now see, I took one more area, that is regarding the international remittance earned by the Indian people. You know, the remittance from foreign country is a vital source of income for the developing country like India. In 2019, you see the 2019, the total remittance grounded, what we can say that globe was almost $573 billion. And India was the top recipient of the remittance at the same time with $83.13 billion. Approximately it is 12 to 14% of the world total remittance. And from 2008 onwards, here see the diagram, 2008 onwards, huge increasing in the receipt of remittance, which claimed from 49.98 billion in 2008 to almost 83.13 billion in 2019. And India has seen a steady increase in the remittance in the recent years, followed by China, Mexico, Philippines, Egypt, Nigeria, Pakistan, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Ukraine. See here, the 82% of India's total remittance received by Indian originated from the generally 7 countries, and the United Arab Emirates, that is UAE, was top, followed by the US, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, UK, and Oman. Here the UAE, that means Dubai, contribute almost 27%. Saudi Arabia is contributing almost 12%. US is contributing almost 23% of our total remittance. See, if you look at the state-wise remittance, the southern states like the Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh accounted for the share of almost 46% of India's total remittance. RBI survey reveals that almost 58% of the total remittance of almost, we can say that $69 billion in 2017 was received by only 4 states. That means states like Kerala, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. So the major portion is acquired by the southern states. Of this, Kerala account almost 19% of the total remittances of India, followed by Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. Since most of the remittance goes to Kerala, Maharashtra, Karnataka, the GDP share of these states will suffer most due to the declining in the remittance in the 2020 due to COVID-19. The state like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, are largely comprising low, semi-skilled contractual workers. So with a low level of their income. So they don't have much fear about COVID-19. And, the southern states like Kerala, Maharashtra, Karnataka will face so many problems due to declining in the remittance due to COVID-19. See, what is the expectation? We don't have the actual data. So the World Bank has projected regarding the remittance, how much COVID-19 will affect the the remittances of our country. So here, the remittance to be estimated to fall by almost 28% in Europe and Central Asia. Sub-Saharan Africa, it is 20, followed by Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, Middle East, North Africa, Latin America, East Asia and Pacific, and the entire world. It is reported, it is expected that, or projected that, it is 20% will be declined. So remittance to low middle income countries, that is LMIs, is projected to fall by almost 19.7%, representing a loss of crucial financial lifeline in many of these countries. In a recent report, the RBI has projected remittance that about 23% in 2020, that is to $64 billion from 83.13 billion, which was reported in 2019. And face the loss of almost $19 billion. So this sharp decline will be expected during the period of 2020 due to COVID-19. And while the World Bank predict 20% decline in remittances globally, the Kerala expect remittances to fall by at least 15% in 2020. See, now, what was the response of government? We know Atmanirbhar Bharat packages were announced. And there are three phases. Through the three phases, they were announced the three various packages. A total of three Atmanirbhar Bharat package, which worth of 29.87 lakh crore, was announced by the central government. On 12th May 2020, the Prime Minister announced the overall economic package worth 20 lakh crores. And then on October 12, 2020, the government announced another 73,000 crore as an economic stimulus packages labeled what we can say that Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan second phase. And on 12th November 2020, the government announced a 2.65 lakh crore worth economic stimulus package, which was labeled as Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan phase 3. So beyond rural, most of this income work goes to some of the supply side chain, and major effect which was affected by because of the stimulus package, that is Rural Employment Guarantee Program, NREGA program. And beyond the rural employment guarantee scheme, the package does not provide an immediate income to the hands of the people or source of support as requested by the economists. Many of the economists were said that kindly distribute the income among the poor families in order to generate increase the purchasing power of the people, so that the declined demand will be increased near future. So many economists have mentioned that government announced stimulus packages more directly to the affected people, tried to resolve on the supplies, they tried to resolve the supply side issues, and there is nothing to bring additional demand. That was the major drawback of these packages. That is nothing to bring additional demand, and it could done by the way of putting money in the hands of people without work or creating large scale infrastructural project to increase the demand for manpower or employment and goods as well. So while medium-term reform, which are inevitable, more drastic direct financial economic incentives are needed to create for immediate effective on the increasing in the demand in the economy. Now see, what was the socio-behavioral changes? This was an interesting area. That means why, because of COVID-19 pandemic, the people are behaving not like what we can say that normally. The effect of pandemic has already seen unusual, what we can say that behavioral changes from different sections of the society. The world is fundamentally changing. People are thinking differently. Experiment with the different supply chains like digital marketing, online marketing, consumption pattern, deliver mode, value chain. Many of my friends were started, especially the girls were started, ladies were started the online businesses. Recently one message in the WhatsApp I came that saying that if you want to purchase the what we can say the meat or chicken, then kindly message me. We will bring you to your home. We will deliver to your home. So even this type of goods and services were also started to a digital marketing. So see, some of these changes, of course, it is temporary. Some of them are permanent, especially the states like Kerala. Their adaptation level is very high. So there are lots of changes were happened during the short period of time, and this revolution were happened, especially the sectors like education. And see, now, but all these behavioral changes will be permanent. Now I am facing you through a digital platform. As normally, if we are conducting a webinar or seminar, how much difficult it is. Now it will become very, very easy way to interact with you people. I am staying in Delhi and you are staying at Malappuram, Kerala, and we are interacting with each other. It's very easy step. So yes, some sort of revolutions were happened, especially through digital mode. Now see, during this period, a question are being asked by so many people, that is, during the discussion, how long it will return to a normal level after lockdown is withdrawn? Or what are the various recovery models which we can describe, especially for the better recovery models? See here, experts were debating the time and size of post-corona economic recovery compared to the speed of economic downturns. See here, economic recovery can be many forms, which is depicted like here. See, alphabetical notations, and just I am introducing some of the shapes here. For example, Z-shaped recovery, V-shaped recovery, U-shaped recovery, shoes-shaped recovery, that means a dick-shaped or knack-shaped recovery, Z-shaped recovery, W-shaped recovery, L-shaped recovery. Let's see what is these type of recoveries. See the first one, the V-shaped recovery. In this scenario, the economic quickly recover lost ground and get back to a normal growth and the trend line which was following before the disruption. And see here, it is a V-shaped. That means immediate decline, then immediate recovery will be happen during the recovery model of V. Then the second one is U-shaped recovery. See, in the case of U-shaped recovery, after falling, a struggle around a low growth rate for some time, then before rising gradually to a usual level, a recovery is slower due to a economic disruption, resulting several job loss and income loss. So it will take some time to recover to a normal level. Then the third one, the smoosh-shaped recovery or Nike smoosh or tick-shaped recovery, that is the sharp down. Initially, there was a sharp down, will be followed by a slight flatter upturn that ultimately goes beyond pre-corona level GDP level. Then the next one is Z-shaped recovery. See the Z-shaped recovery. In this model, the most optimistic scenario in which economy rise quickly. See, after fall, there is a quick recovery after the crash, then it make up for the lost ground before settling back to a normal trend line and thus forming a Z-shaped. Then the next one is W-shaped recovery. See the W-shaped recovery, the growth fall, then rise, but again fall before recovering it again as forming a W shape. And initially the W-shape recovery, there is a possibility of V-shape. Initially see, V-shape after the initial decline, then recovery. Then again, there will be a declining, then there is a recovery. So second wave of change will be happened in the case of a W-shaped recovery. Then here I am going to discuss the last shape of recovery, that is L-shaped one. And in the case of L-shaped recovery, economy failed to regain, after the fall, then economy failed to regain the level of GDP even after the years go by. And a shape shows that a permanent loss to the economic ability to produce. And it is very worst case of scenario. And we are not in this position. We are recovering right now. So these various types of recovery models were discussed by the various economists during the period of COVID and even now. And whether our economy, world economy, will be V-shaped recovery, U-shaped recovery, or whatever it is. And many of the people say that V-shaped recovery will be happen. And in India's case, people expect that a V-shaped recovery will be happen. You know, when income fall, then lose their jobs and their savings. Then what we can say that some of the experts commented that a V-shaped recovery will be possible, and some of them are it is very difficult to reach to recover in a V-shaped model, because already the assumption that the epidemics or COVID-19 pandemic will be disappear within a few period of time. But this is not happened. Even now we are facing the number of cases are reported by the various states, various countries. Even now it is facing, especially in the Europe, London, all these are facing the second wave of corona. So a V-shaped recovery is a discussion, and it is what we are expecting that it is impossible or it is very difficult to once the economy is fully open. That means even if the economy is open, it is very difficult to make an immediate recovery. So this is because global economy is not like a machine or electronic machine, like a fan or computer that we can start operating at a time and when the power is on. An economy is a complex system with many undercurrents that cannot visible in the surface. So a major obstacle is the lack of public trust. For example, after a recent resumption of bus services in Kerala, immediately after the lockdown, bus services were started in Kerala. People do not have to go to the restaurant or shopping malls as they did before coronavirus, for fear of infection, as buses were empty. Buses were empty during this period. So even if the economy starts to reopen, there will be measures that will cut the economic activity to a certain extent and limit it for a long period of time. Even if the rules permit, that means if the rules are permitting that you can go to the outside and purchase and you can shop. And many of the people are unwilling to go to the market or reluctant to approach the market because to return to the normal life they did before COVID-19. Although the things were changed and improved much, that we are not expected. The things were changed and improved much. And similarly, the what we can say that suppliers of the market suffered huge big loss during the period of lockdown. And there was a tendency from many of these sectors when re-cop up, at least some of it are charging very high rate or high prices. Immediately after the lockdown and shops were shut down, after reopening, the prices of the commodity is very, very high. In Kerala, when I was there during that period, the prices of chicken was very high initially, and now it become a normal level. I don't know the chicken price right now because I'm not in Kerala right now. I'm in Delhi because of some of the virus. Nowadays, the meat prices are very low right now in here, but I don't know about Kerala because I'm not there. And because in order to recover their profit by the sellers, retailers, whatever it is, they are charging very high prices immediately after the lockdown. So therefore, a rapid V-shaped recovery may not be possible, or it will be difficult due to these behavioral changes, variations, and responses. There are some other reasons. That is, when the workers lose their job, their savings, household capacity to purchase the goods and services, willingness to spend will decrease. Immediately after the reporting the lockdown, what happened? People are unwilling to spend because we don't know how long the coronavirus will be, and if we doesn't have the income or job, how can we sustain in near future? So people were very careful while spending. That's why the demand in the market is declined, and people were purchasing only the necessary items from the market and avoided unnecessary items. So willingness at the same time, if you look at it from the business point of view, willingness to open a new business after lockdown also will decrease, and it will become very difficult. There will be lots of work to be done, such as arranging funding, finding location, suppliers, hiring to hire workers. If business declare bankruptcy or closed during the pandemic, that whole process need to be start new, and it will take time and money process. And in addition, companies may also fear that once the economy reopen, we don't know whether again near future there will be a shutdown or lockdown. Again, the corona will be reported, the second wave. Some of the people are already reported that there is a fear of second wave of coronavirus. So if the second wave of coronavirus again come, there will be second lockdown. So it will be badly affect the people trust and willingness to open the business accordingly. So this drop in the investment also will cause the companies to lower their production, productivity, and there is a slow process of recovery rather than to hold back the GDP at a normal level. Now see, what is the economic prospects? Two basic factors which influence the assumption being made on the growth prospects for upcoming quarters. The first process is unlocking process is going on. Unlocking. What is unlocking process? It has been observed with the economy is moving from stages of total lockdown in April to gradual opening in May, June, July, August, and then those opening up little more significantly in August, September, October. So the movement from one stage to the another reflected a macroeconomic prospects. That means we have some sort of prospects that is near future within this quarter 3 and quarter 4. There will be some sort of positive changes will be happen, and there is also because of revival packages. That means the second factor that played an important role for the economic growth and recovery, that is possibility of the revival strategies or packages by the government. So there has been some hints given by the official that the near future itself, there will be some more revival packages which may directly inject money into the hands of people, and so that the demand will be increased. So far, the support from the government has been more through indirect route. So where food relief for the poor has been combined with more aggressive lending and loan by the financial system guaranteed in the various forms. So see, but the system problem is that there is an uncertainty and concerns regarding coronavirus itself. But the uncertainties and the other concerns associated with the pandemic of COVID that undermine this prediction and optimistic view of the people or economists pose some sort of risk. Therefore, we need to aware about the terrific risk of involving recovery. What is the terrific risk? One of the most important of this is inflation. That is inflation. COVID-19 uncertainty leads to the inflation is likely in the next 2-3 quarters, and the impact of food supply, which high taxes on the fuels are main reason for the inflation. And another major risk of economy is possibility of the second wave of COVID-19 as an effort to continue prevent spread of deadly virus. And although we have only experienced the effect of virus in the summer, in the North India, especially in the summer season, because of cold, the people are afraid of again expansion of COVID-19 in the North India itself, but it is not happen as such our expectation. So although we have we look into nature of virus in the winter season, especially in the North India, and this wave will block maybe the path of recovery again. But fortunately, we don't have such kind of the second wave what we are expected. And the government of India took some of the revival packages and strategies for the same. So the third major concern is factor of increasing the pressure between employers and corporates. The problems of corporates, there is no need of discussion here. Uncertainty remained in the mind of business people, influencing the decisions to rise and deploy the capital, whether they want to invest more or not. Similarly, the recent festivals, celebration in our country certainly highlight another concern. During the period of celebration and festival, people are crowding various places, and it may concern that there will be some near future, there will be increasing the number of corona cases. Now, see, I'm going to concluding our discussion here by discussing some of the revival strategies. See, the coronavirus pandemic, of course, has worsened existing geo-economic, political, and a strategic fault in the line, and it has impacted countries differently, which are differently equipped to deal with these consequences of COVID-19. For example, take the case of developed countries, where they can afford to prioritize the surviving pandemic and get back to the pre-COVID or pre-pandemic living standard. But the emerging countries like India, India must treat a recovery is a necessary opportunity. It's a remedy for long-standing problem with their economies. So if have not treated like this problem could cause into other crises and might keep India from the capitalizing opportunity that lies outside its border. So India will have to deal with unpredictable changes of trade, investment, private consumption, government expenditure. So of course, consequences of this coronavirus require a reasonable policy packages or policies. And when income of people falls sharply, private individual cut back their consumption. Of course, their consumption will be come down. And when the private consumption or individual consumption falls sharply, business people will stop its investing. If business people will stop the investing, then what happened? There is a declining in the production. Since both of these are voluntary decision, that means business investment and individual consumptions are the individual preferences. We can't compel you have to purchase this type of commodity in order to recover the demand. At the same time, we can't impose the business people to invest during this critical period because they don't have enough trust to invest in the business people. So what happened? All these are the voluntary decisions. So there is a way to force people to spend more and coerce business to invest more in the current period. And the same logic hold in the case of an export. During this period, what is needed? Only one engine that can boost the GDP and is the government expenditure. Only the government expenditure can do. They can force it. Only when government spend more, either by building roads, bridges, or other infrastructural facilities, or by paying salaries, or directly injecting money in the hands of people, can economy revive in the short run to medium term. If the government does not spend adequate money, then what happened? Then economy will take a long period to recover. It will take a long period. We can't expect such a V-shaped recovery during this period. And the fast, reliable policy is that stimulus packages that mitigate the impact on the economy. So government spending, stimulus packages are necessary. Then the second one is demand side intervention. What is the demand side intervention? Direct cash transfer and tax cut to leave more money in the hands of people. If people have money, then consumers will purchase more and domestic consumption will be increased, then demand will be increased. If demand will be increased, what happened? The production will also increase. Business people will start to invest, productivity will be increased, distribution will be increased, then so that we can be on the normal situation as usual. So the allocate more fund to increase income, just like the NREGA, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Employment Guarantee Act. Then speed up the transfer of revenue owned by the center to the state government. Then the next one is implementing a time-bound, coordinated fiscal and monetary policies that can save sustain job and income loss. So in order to recover the long-term job and income, it is necessary to create jobs in the strategic areas to revive a conducive business environment. A structural transformation, a technological advances need to be encouraged in order to diversify the production, supply chain, and economy. Assist those people who need the help, who have lost their job, and those who are in danger of losing job. Then what we can say that abundant fiscal conservatism and abandon the concerns about rising fiscal deficit. Government should avoid the concern about rising of fiscal deficit and increasing public expenditure rather than rising taxing, especially GST, which have much more cascading effect, spread effect will be more. Then relax the FRBM limit. That means rise the fiscal deficit target from the current 3.3% to 4% or 5%. Rise the state government to GDP debt ratio from 20 to 30%. And the government should allow, the central government should allow the state government to spend more through relaxing the FRBM, that is fiscal responsibility budget management limit. Then the incentivize, next strategy is that incentivize to motivate foreign investment to a large industrial segment by simplifying the complex laws of government should place a honesty highest priority on the poor and informal sector so that their livelihood are not threatened by any specific policy and negligence. But government policies are not in favor of such a what we can say that unorganized or informal sector. The next one is that we need to a policy for the unorganized laborers. You know, majority of us, 80-85% of our labor force are from unorganized sector. So government should introduce such a policy initiative in order to recover the unorganized sector as well. Then the next one, what we can say that MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises, form a backbone. That is, small scale industries are the backbone of our economy. So conducive business environment is needed for the micro, small, medium enterprises to grow, innovate, and compete internationally. Most of the firms are small, focus on the local market, and lack of scale and financial management capabilities to competent authority. Then the next one, the goal of public policy against infected diseases should be protect the public health. Ultimately, it is a public health. So government should protect the public health, invest in the personal care investment, the equipments for healthcare care workers, healthcare system, and greatly increase the testing and detection. And also should immediately develop the vaccine. And of course, we are already started the distribution of vaccine as well. So it will be, and ultimately at the end, we should also boost up the confidence of general public during this period. We should boost up the confidence of not only the general public, also the business people to invest more so that the production will be increased, employment will be increased, and the demand ultimately will be increased. So the public health system, protect the vulnerable people, address the challenges posed by the informality, and implement the reforms which that will support a strong and what we can say that a sustainable growth once the health crisis is abates. So further effort should be also taken, being to keep economy is open and no further national lockdown. If it is necessary, then lockdown should be a partial, because lockdown is much worsely affected the economy. And then finally, this decade of India, you know, it's about struggle for political succession, domination, nationalism, cultural pride. But it is important to understand the fact that there is no precise defined policy initiatives, goals of economic growth and implementation of plans, mission, vision with these objectives and economic recovery. So given enormous uncertainty, you know, enormous uncertainties are there, A technical analysis of economic growth and strategic thinking need to be brought in the contest so that changing the current situation is the most important steps to the recovery. We can't speak about the political succession, nationalism and cultural pride during this period. We want to recover our economy. We want to recover from our health crisis. And let me conclude by thanking the organizing team, teachers, and other staff members for organizing such a relevant webinar, especially in the wake of spread of COVID-19 across the world. Last but not least, I thank you all the students and other participants for showing their interest in the program. So I wish you very all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the fruitful session. Now let's have the interactive section. Participant can either unmute their microphone and raise your queries, or you can type in chat box of both of Google platform or YouTube live streaming. Participant can either choose Malayalam or English for the interactive session. Let's start the interactive session. Participants can either unmute their microphone and raise your questions, or you can type in chat box. Anyone?
I hope that nobody is asking the question.
Yes. Eh?
Sir, what is technical recession? Could you please explain?
Okay. Technical. There are two types of recession. Generally, technical recession, I hope that you people are firstly hear about this concept of technical recession. We are calculating GDP quarterly. Of course, we have 4 quarters, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. In the first quarter, that means it is from April to June. This is the first quarter. And quarter 2 is from July to September. Then quarter 3 is from October to December. Then quarter 4 is the January to April. This is the 4 quarters. While we are calculating GDP, if continuously 2 quarters are reporting a negative GDP growth rate. Continuously, if GDP growth rate in these 2 quarters are negative, then we can say that it is a technical recession. So technical recession is a short phenomena. Actually, technical recession is a for short period. That means 2 consecutive quarters, it's negatively reporting the GDP growth rate. Then we are saying that it is technical recession. But in general, recession is a long-term period. Technical recession is the short run. At the same time, the main recession means that is for the long period of time. At least it will be 1 or 3 years. But in the case of technical recession, it is for the short period of time. And if whenever 2 consecutive or continuous quarters are facing negative GDP growth rate, then we can say that it is a technical recession.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else with further queries and comments? Okay, sir. We are going to conclude our session. For vote of thanks, I invite Rajesh E., Faculty of Economics Department.
Good afternoon, all. We have come to the end of the second webinar in the series of Econologue. It is time to thank you all. First of all, I would like to thank our college principal, Dr. Reina Thomas, ma'am, for entering the presidential speak. Thank you, ma'am, for allowing us to organize such a fruitful event and for your immense support. Then I would like to thank our webinar speaker, Dr. Abdul Aziz NP, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Aligarh Muslim University, for accepting our invitation. And he has delivered a lecture on the relevant topic COVID-19 and Indian economy, trends and survival strategies. Thank you so much, sir, for taking some time out of your busy schedule and enlightening us with your expertise, knowledge on this field. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Then I want to thank Dr. Ajit Thomas, sir, IQAC Coordinator, Marthoma College, Chungatra, for the immense support and guidance. I would also like to thank all the faculty members for Marthoma College for supporting us all through. Then next, special thanks to all faculty members of Department of Economics, especially Head of the Department, Nivya V. Neelankavil, for taking efforts to organize this webinar. And also thanks to our faculty member, Pradeep sir, for moderating the session. I also want to thank Mr. Dinoj for the technical support. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants, our friends from various colleges and dear students for attending the webinar. I am sure that it was an effective session for you all. On the behalf of everyone, I thank you all once again. We will meet again through economic law with the contemporary economic problems. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Please stay tuned for our next webinar series, Econologue. Okay, thanks for all.